The grassroots is critical. And it's something certainly one of the great historians of our time understood, who we lost just a month ago, Howard Zinn. How many of you have read Howard Zinn's works? What a remarkable historian, and the culmination of his work just before he died of a heart attack, just a month ago at the age of 87. The culmination was The People Speak, a documentary that aired on History Channel. They have been performing these all over the country. Great actors or folks like you and me going around the country on college campuses, reading the works of, reading the voices, the speeches, the poetry, the letters of people who are so rarely documented. I went to a wonderful event in Washington, D.C. recently at a place called Busboys and Poets, where we remembered Howard Zinn together. Hundreds of people in the midst of a snowstorm. Among those who came out was Marion Wright Edelman, who founded the Children's Defense Fund, who was a student of Howard Zinn at Spelman College, the historically black college, and talked about how much the women loved Howard Zinn because he taught at Spelman. Oh, until he was thrown out, but he taught at Spelman College. She said one of the things he would do every year is take this group of prim and proper women students who would wear their white gloves, the Spelman students, to the Georgia State Legislature once a year. And they would sit down in the all-white section, all these prim, young, black women, and sit with their white professor, Howard Zinn. The legislature would come to a standstill. And at that moment, all of these behatted and gloved women would stand up with broad smiles, and they would leave. The sum of the resistance that Howard Zinn was a part of. Howard Zinn, who explained to me his idea of this remarkable book, A People's History of the United States, saying, we have to go beyond what people have learned in school, history through the eyes of presidents and generals, to the voices of ordinary people, of rebels, of dissidents, of women, of black people, of Asian Americans, of immigrants, of socialists and anarchists and troublemakers of all kinds. And so he went to Spelman College to teach. He was there at the time of the sit-ins. He told me why, after 7 years there, he was fired. He said the students at Spelman College rose up out of that very tranquil and controlled atmosphere at the college during the sit-ins and went into town, got arrested. They came back fired up and determined to change the conditions of their lives on campus. I supported them in their rebellion, and I was too much for the administration of the college. He wrote that in afterward to A People's History. He said, it wasn't until I joined the faculty of Spelman College that I began to read the African-American historians who never appeared in my reading lists in graduate school. Nowhere in my history education had I learned about the massacres of black people that took place again and again amidst the silence of a national government pledged by the Constitution to protect equal rights for all. Another of his students was the Pulitzer Prize-winning author Alice Walker, who said Howard Zinn was her funniest professor. But she also said, after learning of Howard Zinn's death, we were in Park City, Utah, broadcasting from the Sundance Film Festival for the week. We had Alice on from Mexico. Alice Walker said he was thrown out because he loved us. And he showed that love by just being with us. He loved his students. He didn't see why we should be second-class citizens. Well, 42 years after Howard Zinn was thrown out of Spelman College, he was invited back to give the graduation address and to receive an honorary degree. Yes, times do change. And I hope they will change for DePaul as well. Perhaps, I hope it takes less than 42 years for Norm Finkelstein to be invited back.